Alright, let's watch this one.
It was a disaster unlike anything Japan had seen before. A magnitude 7.9 earthquake violently shook eastern Japan. The country.
I guess at the time, like, there wasn't like building made to resist earthquake, I guess.
Two largest cities, Tokyo and Yokohama, would soon lie in ruins after fires that burned for days destroyed huge sections of the crowded cities.
It's crazy, this footage. I mean, 1923, that was literally like 100 years ago.
It's just whipped through this wooden city.
That's crazy.
40% of the urban landscape.
I really like watching sometimes like this kind of like old videos, you know, like late, you know, like 80 something. What am I saying? Like the 1900s or something. Frenchman, armless prank. I'm not really into prank video, to be honest. Hello, Jay. I never really watch prank videos.
That's an extraordinary figure.
Today, 100 years later, the Great Kanto earthquake remains the deadliest natural disaster in modern Japanese history.
Not 2011?
The most accurate estimate puts the death toll around 105,000 people, and nearly 90,000 of those died because of fire. To describe the Great Kanto earthquake as one of the great tragedies of the 20th century would not be an exaggeration.
It also marked a turning point in how Japan, one of the most seismically active nations on Earth, prepares for inevitable disaster.
Transformer movie. Sounds like a dangerous thing.
It's easy to forget.
Watching videos, yeah. I watched the video you shared on Discord about drifting. I watched that.
Didn't always look like this. Today, the sprawling city is a sea of concrete and steel.
Yeah.
But 100 years ago, Tokyo was a far different place.
So let me just paint you a bit of a picture of what Tokyo looked like in 1923. If you were a visitor and you arrived in
there's no
Tokyo
big building,
Station,
I guess.
You'd be impressed by the brick buildings and the reinforced concrete structures. But if you were to step outside of central Tokyo into some of the outlying wards, you would be overwhelmed by the fact that Tokyo was primarily a wooden
skyscrapers
city.
are literally made to,
historian.
like, you see it in videos sometimes when there's an earthquake, they're like made to be moving around. Because I guess, yeah, if like the structure is stiff or something, if it's just stiff, it's easier for it to crumble. But if it's like actually moving alongside the earthquake, not moving enough to fall obviously, but I guess it helps for it not to fall. It's pretty smart, though it's pretty scary.
At the International Christian University in Tokyo, and the author of Earthquake Children, Building
Crossing the line
Resilience
between
for
life
the
and death.
Ruins of Tokyo.
Yeah.
She has extensively studied the impact of the 1923 disaster and how it shaped the Japanese government's approach to city planning. Tokyo in 1923 was going through a period of rapid growth.
If you had to describe Tokyo,
I love this kind of footage again.
Earthquake, you'd call it a burgeoning imperial capital. It was the political and economic center of not only Japan but the Japanese Empire.
Charles Schenking is a historian at the University of Hong Kong and the author of The Great Kanto Earthquake and the Chimera of National Reconstruction in Japan.
You mean, no?
The population of Tokyo had virtually doubled from about 1.12 million people in 1900 to about 2.5 million people by 1920.
While the era saw the rise of modern architecture, across the Sumida River, a different kind of growth was underway.
Sumida River.
Now, these wards are typically referred to as the Shitamachi, the low-lying districts of Tokyo. And this is where, if we look at the wards east of the Sumida River, such as Honjo and Fukagawa, this is where a lot of the poorest people of Tokyo live, and they were densely crowded.
I can watch some of it.
The tightly packed wooden structures were at risk of becoming a dangerous tinderbox if disaster struck.
It was the most powerful earthquake to hit Tokyo in over 200 years. Honjo became kind of the epicenter of death.
The devastation.
What was like? This was like 7.9. What was the one in 2011? Like, I don't remember. Wait, my control key is stuck. Give me a sec. Control key, get unstuck. Thanks. What was 2011? 2011 earthquake magnitude. Oh, it was 9.1. So it was like even crazier, but I guess, yeah, like this one was 7.9. But I guess, yeah, in 2011, like, it was bad, but also, you know, I guess, like, they had 100, well, almost 100 years to prepare, right? So, like, the buildings were better handling it, so it was less deadly, still pretty deadly, right? Um, but fair enough, fair enough.
Tokyo and Yokohama was unprecedented.
I mean, on a real visceral human level, it was a disaster that confronted all senses.
It's a new outfit? I've heard about that.
Writer Tanaka Koba
My favorite
described
official
the
VTuber
sound
channel.
when the first tremor struck. And a lot of
Hello,
people
Genwil.
talked about the sound. It was as if a giant blackening whirlwind deep underground had been unleashed upon Tokyo. The most harrowing part of the catastrophe was about to begin. It was triggered by fire.
Oh, fire.
And virtually all of these large fires burned until there was nothing left to burn.
That's crazy. Like when you look at this image, it looks more like an image of like World War II than just like an earthquake, right? But I guess, yeah, the building were like all built in such a quite stiff way. Then, you know, once the earthquakes start, like everything just goes down like Legos or something. Like it looks like it's been bombed, but no, this is just like the earth shaking. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Anonymous chronicler
It's crazy.
If this were not hell, where would hell be?
It's a good line.
Another aspect of this tragedy was the spread of wild rumors.
How close the source of earthquake? 5.6 can be extremely deadly if happens right under big city. Well, but I guess like these days though, like you know, at least in Japan, maybe not in other country, but in Japan, you know, the big cities have most of the building are like earthquake ready, right? So they're supposed to withstand like even magnitude 7 or something. But I guess, yeah, like in a country, like I know right now in my like apartment building in the first floor, like this building is absolutely not earthquake ready. Like even like a small one, I think we're going down. But we don't have earthquake in France, so I guess it's not something to worry about until it happens. One day, that's the thing, right? That's the thing.
We know that between 6,000 and 8,000 Koreans
Why?
were murdered. Racism, hatred, resentment, fear.
What does that have to do with the earthquake?
All contributed to this tragedy.
Okay. All right.
So the lessons from 1923 convinced experts that they needed to better prepare society for future disasters.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
If you were to take a bird's eye view of Tokyo today, if you were observing Tokyo from the top of the Skytree Tower in Ueno or looking out over the city, you would be overwhelmed and struck by the sea of concrete basically before you. And this is really a legacy of past disasters and earthquakes.
Oh. 2021.
Japan would continue to be hit with large earthquakes.
Right.
But even at their most disastrous, the death toll never reached the tragic heights of the 1923 quake. Experts say a major reason is that standards since then have steadily improved.
Today, Japan is well recognized as one of the nation's best prepared
but I guess that
to
makes
face
sense.
seismic risk.
If you're the nation like facing earthquake all the time, I guess you would try to like fight back by building better building that can stand them. Level of destruction, local earthquake can be more destructive. Fair enough. I don't know much about earthquake.
Japan instituted its first earthquake-specific building codes in 1924, as Tokyo and Yokohama built back from the ruins. These building codes were regularly revised, eventually becoming some of the most strict seismic standards in the world.
I mean, is there any country that gets like worse earthquake than Japan anyway? So that makes sense.
Calculate counter earthquake because some buildings survived because they are designed against earthquake. Then the central government officers observed the situation in the counter area. Then they recognized seismic design code is quite important and required in the
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Today, Japanese buildings that adhere to the highest standards employ innovative features that dampen vibrations and reduce dangerous side-to-side movement of tall buildings. This 247-meter skyscraper was built with shock absorbers that dampen the effects of tremors.
で、3つの種類の制振装置が使われてまして、
That's
ここ
crazy.
で見ていただいたようなオイルダンパーが全部で220機で、もう一つですね、壁状の制振装置があるんですけども、それが120機で、さらにブレーキダンパーと呼ばれているような種類の制振装置が全部404機、この3種類を使ってます。ここには
It's a piston, I
オイルダンパーっていう
guess.
のが置いてありますけども、これ筒の中にですね油が入ってるんですね。で、本物はもっと大きくてですね、人が抱えられないぐらいの大きさがあるんですけども、これが地震の時にこう伸びたり縮んだりっていうことを繰り返す。そうすると何が起こるかというとですね、やがてこれが暖かくなってきます。つまり振動のですね揺れのエネルギーを熱のエネルギーに変換して消費する。で、結果として建物の揺れを抑えると。
Other skyscrapers now feature large pendulums that counterbalance side-to-side movement during a quake. Others are built on foundations of rubber and steel that help absorb motion before it damages the building.
Current techniques against the earthquake, the more advanced seismic design way. Like a car, if you hit a car, your car will
crash indeed.
Then you cannot use anymore, but you survive. Because the cars are designed so that the collision energy will be dissipated. That's like similar. The buildings are also designed to suffer the damage safely.
In Tokyo, more than 90% of the homes are now earthquake
90%
resistant.
is crazy.
And the city itself is better insulated against large fires since the percentage of wooden homes and buildings in the city shrinks every year. Still, some older neighborhoods, like those in the Arakawa ward, still contain many wooden buildings.
It's a shame because like there's an appeal to obviously like wooden buildings, right? Classic. But at the same time, you don't want to burn. So you know.
The wooden material is quite common in Japan. The fire accident is a quite big concern. If you look at the downtown area in Tokyo, they still have the quite similar city plan as Edo period. So we needed to change the city planning to prevent
just for a while.
fire accident.
Check your bed. It sounds scary, yeah.
Local officials are working to slowly replace the older fire-prone structures with safer, modern ones. Together, these are measures that save lives. The Tokyo government found that when it's hit with another earthquake on the same scale as the Great Kanto earthquake, the death toll could be as high as 6,200. Still a serious tragedy, but far less than the more than 100,000.
At the same time, like I get that, you know, they prepare the building to witness it, but you don't really know until it's tried, right? The thing is that, you know, I would say very smart people thought about it, but until there's actually like a similar like earthquake hitting, you won't really know if it will actually resist in the way you expect it to. I mean, it's still better than not doing anything and hoping for the best, but yeah.
Who lost their lives
but obviously, all I can say is hopefully there won't be another earthquake like that.
If we look at some of the lessons or takeaways from the Great Kanto earthquake for today, I would say one is that if you live in a region that has a high level of seismic risk, do everything possible now to be prepared for the future.
It makes sense. Okay, well, very interesting. Again, wanted to learn about this because it's like mentioned quite a bit in Umeneko as like part of a backstory, so I wanted to know about it. Okay, well, pretty good documentary. I sometimes watch video from this channel. They make like good documentary about different things. Good video.